Egberto Willies is joining us for the headline second segment in just a second, where we're going to talk about how Beto is running for governor of Texas, and also that little bill about calling healthcare for trans children child abuse happening under Greg Abbott down in Texas. Let's take a reminder of who Greg Abbott is and what he's done. All that and more under the headlines starting now. Egberto, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so kindly for having me, Julianna. Long time no see. It's great to be on your show. And I tell you what, your music kind of got me. I don't dance, and it actually wanted me to dance.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing that. Bring a little joy on an otherwise uncomfortable day, let's call it. We were talking right before this about how it's a hard day to be funny.
Yes, it's hard to be funny. And then sometimes you wonder, though, if you don't want to add a little bit of funny to your folk just so that they'll be able to absorb all that's going on right now, because there's a hell of a lot going on, Julianna. And you have a great person coming on to speak after that's going to really put a lot of the seriousness into perspective. And I think you want to draw those people in with the way, only you can do it.
Thank you very much. And that's another reason I wanted to have you on the program. And I'm very happy that you're here coincidentally today after what started happening in Texas with that bill about making healthcare for trans kids considered child abuse. Can you talk? Well, so for anyone who didn't know what was going on here, Greg Abbott, who basically he's the same guy who signed into law one of the nation's strictest abortion measures, banning procedures as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy, is now gone off the rails when it comes to trans kids. Can you talk about what he's done?
Oh, absolutely. The way we have.
By the way, I need to tell everyone, you are in Texas. You live there. You are living the horror.
In Texas. I vote in Texas. I support my Texans that are doing the right thing, not Greg Abbott and the others. But answering your question, first of all, we've been trying to mess with people in the bathroom here in Texas for a very long damn time. And it's like, who can mess with people the worst? How can we actually do a little bit worse to get that 15% of diehard Republicans who vote in the primaries to go for us? So what they did, to answer your question, it is amazing because we already had a bill that kind of monitors the bathroom for you. Now they want to say that these kids that are going through these psychological problems, these actual problems of who they are, now we are not going to allow physicians to take good care of them. We're not going to allow them to take solutions that delay their puberty so they can make the right choices when they're adult enough. They can't get the right kind of counseling because not that the bill says that. The bill is restrictive as it is enough. But what the bill says is, or rather a directive coming from Paxton, our resident thief our resident thief. I like to call him the stock thief, Who
is he?
Paxton, Greg Paxton, the attorney. He decided to write a memo that said, this is how this bill is to be implemented. And how is this supposed to be implemented? We're going to stop Texas doctors from treating these kids who may have problems. You try to treat them, we may throw you in jail. I don't write the law, but we may throw you in jail.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even necessarily a problem. It's just that they are going through something health related and they need attention. And I think it's so disgusting what Abbott is doing. Let's remind everyone who Greg Abbott is and what he's done in the past. I actually brought up a little while ago that it was Greg Abbott who caused Texans to be ripped off during the Texas electric grid failure. Talk about that.
Well, let me tell you, because yesterday, and it's amazing that we planned to have me on today, long time ago, but yesterday, something great happened. The person who run ERCOT is the ones that control all the electrical distribution in Texas. In Texas, we got to do things ourselves. We're big, bad, and ugly, right? Well, actually big, bad, and pretty. We do everything ourselves. So we run the grid. Everybody else is on a national grid that splits the electricity on the left side of the country or the right side of the country. But Texas does it all on its own. We decided to have ERCOT run it for us. What ERCOT is really is an organization that takes a whole lot of private generators, put them together, aggregate them, and distribute it through our own lines and build the holy hell out of us. Well, during the freeze, we used a lot of electricity, a lot of gas things went down, and it turned out that the grid got overloaded, not because we couldn't handle the performance, but because our state hates regulations that forces these particular companies to do the right thing. So we froze. Now, what happened? On the day that we started to recover, we decided that even though we have recovered, we are going to allow this company to continue to pilfer Texans by charging them up to $1.9 billion over those 2 days that they should not have been charged, that what the market bears in the amount of electricity generated.
Well, Greg Abbott is also the governor who signed into law one of the nation's strictest abortion measures. I mentioned it earlier, banning procedure as early as 6 weeks into a pregnancy. Do you want to comment on what that is doing to Texans?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Texans right now, they're going north, they're going south. Well, if you live in South Texas, you're going to Mexico. If you live anywhere in the middle of Texas, you're kind of hosed, right? So you have to either go up north or whatever. But what this is let's call it what it is, right? It is an abortion bill for rich women. Because what it turns out to be is that we don't want to show our measly Texans that abortion is okay, but the wealthy ones, the ones who have kids in these wealthy schools, if they get knocked up, they can go ahead and fly somewhere, do it in secret in New York, or do it in secret in where you are, Connecticut, or one of these states, or Mexico, and then come back to the States. But the poor folk, the ones where abortion is an economical issue, because remember, as a woman, and I shouldn't be speaking, you're a woman, you know what I'm talking about.
You're just about to say, yeah.
It's an economic issue.
Yes.
So therefore, we have to realize that once we deny some sort of woman's control of her own body, we're inflicting pain on her own personal economy. Is that right? You tell me.
Or a lot of women do not want to bear a child into poverty. Why would you want to bear a child that you then have to watch suffer? The government doesn't support the children. They don't support, they're trying to rip away public education. They're trying to rip away any kind of food assistance, electrical assistance. They can just freeze in the storm, but you can't have an abortion. It's insane.
It is crazy, but that's what we have in Texas. But the thing about it is, Juliana, is this. Most Texans do not support all of this. But unlike other states, everybody talk about voter suppression in Texas. First of all, voter suppression is real because they make it difficult. They don't do it in the olden days that we did with Jim Crow or anything. They just make it difficult. I'm here in DC for a while, taking care of my daughter who had a stroke. And interestingly, we registered to vote. Both of us did. Thank you. We both registered to vote. And in little letters, they said, after you fax your app in, you still have to mail it in. It must get here within 4 days. So an experienced voter like myself, trying to vote, they make it difficult. They make it difficult that if you have a Texas school ID, you can't use that as an ID. But if you have a gun permit, you can do it. Well,
get your gun permit.
Right, but it's funny because most
ridiculous.
Progressives, a lot of them won't spend the time on gun permits, but we do know conservatives love their guns. So that's another way of making sure that you have a certain type of people voting.
Fascinating. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. That's so interesting. I didn't know that. Thanks for bringing that to light.
It's a magic word that you just said. Death by 1,000 cuts. That's it. Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, Egberto Willies, here's I think Greg Abbott is just positioning himself for a presidential bid. Your thoughts?
Yes, he is. But I have to ask the question is, are these, we always talk about these guys not being necessarily as smart as they think they are. The country is not going in that direction as far as these draconian type of laws.
I hope to God not.
No, it's not. It really isn't.
The interesting thing is he's not going to CPAC, which apparently is only for crazies and Trumpites now. And, shamans, QAnon shamans are going to that thing. It used to be fairly serious conservative think tank, gathering of people I don't agree with. When now it's just for nuts, and he's not going. So I'm seeing that as him signaling that he's positioning himself as like a regular Republican, while at home he can still show his creds for trying to cut abortion as much as possible, trying to, cut trying to deregulate the utilities, trying to do these that go against the trans kids and all the other stuff we just discussed. Your thoughts?
Let me just put it this way, because I'm gonna throw that back at you. That's the importance of your show, right? Because we won't allow them to do that. You're absolutely right. What you just said was a perfect answer, right? In other words, let's kind of look normal to everybody else. And in Texas, where we control how people can vote, we will let them do as they please. But Julianna says something else. You're going to be on my show. And not only that, we're going to make sure that the rest of America find out who you really are. And that's the beauty of independent media. Because whereas others are going to cover things superficially, baby, you're going to get down into the gutter with those guys and say, you're not getting away with that.
Well, Egberto Willies, you're going to have to come back, because we didn't even get to the other part of this story, which is Beto O'Rourke, who is running for governor of the state. A quick thought about that, and then I gotta go. We gotta talk about nuclear war. So stick with us for that. Go ahead.
This is a very quick one. 1 minute. Beto O'Rourke is going to do it. Beto O'Rourke has the pedigree, just like Mike Collier, who's the lieutenant governor running. Let me tell you guys something. If we can get through a few hurdles, in his case, guns, in my case, a little else something, we got the state.
That'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. Oh, it's so great to have you on the program. I will get you back here on another serendipitous day. I'll just book it, and then the universe will bring the news together. So it's very important that you be on that day, just like it did today. I appreciate you coming on, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly for having me, and great show.
And everybody go to Politics Done Right. You can find it on the internets, egbertowillies.com, right? You're a .comer.
Yes, egbertowillies.com, but politicsdoneright.com for the show. politicsdoneright.com.
Okay, well, that's easier to spell and remember. Politicsdoneright.com. Thanks so much. I appreciate you being on.
Thank you.
You're watching Act TV. Stay with us.